So with last week's Nintendo Direct and with 2020 slowly starting to creep up on us, a lot of us have felt that there's been a lot missing from the future Nintendo library. We still have a lot of questions about what's going to be going on and coming from Nintendo, first-party games and exclusive franchises and all of that. And it got me thinking about a particular series in general. And that series is Pikmin. And Pikmin is weirdly one of my dark horse favorite franchises from Nintendo, and it's definitely one of the franchises that I think not enough people really think of when they first think of franchises from Nintendo. I think that while there is a huge contingent of people who love that series and are constantly waiting for a new entry in that series, by the way, hint hint, wink wink, Nintendo, I think that for the most part, when people think of series and franchises from Nintendo, that Pikmin isn't really the first on that list. People go to some of the bigger, more obvious ones. But, like I said, I am a huge fan of the franchise, and that's kind of why I wanted to focus on it and discuss it a little bit today, because it's been a while since it's really come up in a meaningful way when it comes to Nintendo games. And again, this brings us back to last week's Nintendo Direct, which was a very divisive, I would say, or polarizing Nintendo Direct, because it's one of the ones that not a lot of people agree on. There's a huge contingent of people that loved it and a huge contingent of people that really hated it, and only a few people who were kind of in the middle. And I'm sure you guys know how I feel. If you watched my video or you follow me on Twitter, I've discussed it quite a bit. I didn't really love it. There wasn't a lot for me personally to take away from it. So I was left feeling a little bit empty after the Nintendo Direct, but not necessarily disappointed, because I didn't hate the Nintendo Direct. It certainly wasn't bad by any means. And I also didn't necessarily need a Nintendo Direct for me to feel currently satisfied with what's going on with Nintendo. I mean, how many times have we all brought this up recently when discussing Nintendo and video games? It's the fact that right now, the back half of 2019 is so strong for Nintendo already, even before this Nintendo Direct aired. And so for that reason, I really wasn't stressing too much the quality of the Nintendo Direct, or the fact that most of the games or the new announcements weren't really exciting to me. Although, I am very excited for Xenoblade. I won't lie, I'm pumped for Xenoblade Chronicles Remastered. That is going to be so freaking good, I just know it, because I already love the original Wii release. But if we focus back on, maybe the questions about future games and franchises, and then Pikmin, it's the fact that Pikmin is a game and a series that a lot of people have been wondering about for a while. We know that Pikmin 4 was apparently a game that Miyamoto said was almost complete back in 2015, you guys. I am not joking. Go back to that quote. It was 2015. So 4 freaking years ago. It's insane that it was that long ago. And at the time, the Wii U was their prominent system. This was before really the NX and the Nintendo Switch reveal and all that stuff. And at the time, he had stated that the game was almost complete and that we would probably see it soon. And that was super exciting at the time, because Pikmin 3 was only a few years old. Pikmin 3 was also incredible. I absolutely love that game. That is probably my third or fourth favorite game on the Wii U across the board. It seriously was that good. So the idea of a Pikmin 4 coming out so soon and Miyamoto saying it was almost done was really great, but then we never saw it. It's kind of similar to Pikmin 3. It kind of went into vaporware status for several years after that, and Pikmin fans were left wondering what the heck is going on with this game. Then, of course, a year or two ago, we got Hey Pikmin on the 3DS, and a lot of people, myself included, definitely wondered if that was actually the Pikmin game that he was talking about at that time. And it's never been confirmed. They've never talked about it, and I think that there's honestly a reason to believe either case here. There's reason for us to believe that that wasn't the Pikmin game Miyamoto was talking about, and there's reason to believe that it was the game. I mean, there's kind of no way to really tell, other than the fact that it sounded like he was talking about a console release when he talked about Pikmin 4 in 2015. Other than that, there's no way to tell. Maybe he was kind of being sly and cheeky with it, and he really truly meant this new portable DS Pikmin game we're making. That's the Pikmin game I'm talking about, and it's almost done. Because if you look at the timelines, it does technically add up. And so with all of that said, where does that leave us in terms of Pikmin on the Nintendo Switch? And honestly, as weird as it may sound coming off of that Nintendo Direct, I actually do feel really optimistic about Pikmin coming sometime soon. And I think it's because that Nintendo Direct didn't have a lot of huge megaton first-party reveals and surprises. Coming off of a really strong E3 Direct, I think that a lot of people hoped that it was going to have that stuff, but if you think about it, it kind of makes sense that their first post-E3 Nintendo Direct didn't have a lot of new huge surprises and bomb drops. And so when I look at Pikmin, I feel like it just makes sense for that game to come sometime in 2020. I think my whole kind of big idea picture here with this conversation and this idea is that I do truly feel in my gut that 2020 is the time for Pikmin to return and come to the Nintendo Switch. Now, this obviously has nothing to do with like rumors or leaks or behind the scenes information. I'm not trying to spread a rumor like that. This is nothing more than just my gut feeling as a fan and kind of me using the logic in my brain and analyzing Nintendo's lineup and their library, what's currently on the slate, what's missing from the slate, and how they've been responding in the Switch era. It's really just me putting all these pieces together to realize that it makes sense for Pikmin to come in 2020. I've brought this up numerous times in the past. On the Nintendo Switch in these first couple of years, we've already seen Nintendo check off a lot of their main franchises as far as releases on the Switch. We've seen that Zelda and that Mario and that Splatoon and that Smash Brothers and that Fire Emblem and that Animal Crossing and that Luigi's Mansion and, you know, whatever other ones I'm brain farting, Xenoblade if I didn't say that. I mean, even new IPs. They've been doing a lot on the Nintendo Switch with their first-party franchises, and it's been fantastic. They've even had a re-release of Donkey Kong and a re-release of Mario Kart on this console. And so, yes, a new Mario Kart makes sense on the Switch. Yes, a new Donkey Kong makes sense on the Switch. Oh my god, how crazy awesome would a new Donkey Kong game be? Whether it was Donkey Kong Country or something different, I don't even care. Something like that. You know, we're also still waiting for games like Star Fox and F-Zero to show up on the Switch. But Pikmin, to me, is the one that makes the most sense to make a return in 2020, alongside of other franchises that are already returning in 2020. No More Heroes and Animal Crossing, of course, are returning in 2020. Pikmin is a series that I think Nintendo and Miyamoto find to be like a core staple of Nintendo's lineup. And, you know, I bring up Miyamoto fully understanding that he's really no longer involved in game development anymore, which is sad, but also makes sense. We know that he's probably not too far away from kind of retiring from the business altogether. But I still feel like he has a voice and a very huge presence within Nintendo overall, as far as like their overall business model. And part of their overall business model is their game releases and what franchises they're kind of putting to the forefront of their marketing. And Pikmin is near and dear to Miyamoto, and I think that because of that, it's near and dear to Nintendo. And we've been waiting and waiting and waiting for news on a new Pikmin. Not a Pikmin 3 port. I mean, that might happen, but I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about Pikmin 4 here. We've been waiting and waiting on news of it, and the fact that this Nintendo Direct came and went without a big Nintendo reveal, and I'm not counting Xenoblade, by the way, I feel like we're destined to hear from Pikmin sometime soon. And I feel like we might get another Nintendo Direct or two before the end of 2019, you guys. I truly feel in October and November, we're going to get another Nintendo Direct. And I think that we might hear from Pikmin at that time. And even if we don't, I feel like the first Nintendo Direct of 2020 might be the time that they want to reveal Pikmin. Because if you think about the timeline that I'm laying out here, where I think that 2020 is the time for us to see a Pikmin 4 game release, then we know Nintendo, within the 6, 7, or 8 months before the game would release, want to also reveal it and confirm that it's coming and give us a release window maybe, and obviously show us a little bit of gameplay or a tease of what that game is going to look like and be like. It just is a game that makes so much sense on the Switch, in the Switch era, for Nintendo Switch lineup, and here we are, you know, at the end of their franchises. You know, they've like exhausted all these other franchises, and I think of the remaining ones we haven't seen, Pikmin, along with Star Fox, make the most sense to return sometime soon. And 2020 needs a lot of these big games from Nintendo's because we're still waiting on what they're going to be releasing. And so at the end of the day, just, I don't know, Pikmin makes sense, and I think Pikmin 4 is coming, you guys. Now, what they might do with Pikmin, how they might change the series up, or the things that they might bring to the franchise and evolve the series, it's a little bit too early to tell. It's a little bit too early for me to talk about that part of it. You know, the biggest question mark when it comes to a Pikmin coming to the Nintendo Switch is how it's going to play, because I think with Pikmin 3, they had the perfect magical combination of the Wii Remote and the gamepad. And I know that some people hate the Wii U or they hate the gamepad, and I'm sorry, I just don't understand where you're coming from in that respect. I think the gamepad was great when used properly, and I think that Pikmin 3 was one of the most proper uses of the gamepad. And using the Wii Remote and Nunchuck to use your pointer on screen to control your Pikmin and do everything was just so euphorically perfect. And on top of that, you add the fact that you can also have your gamepad set up in front of you, and it's your interactive map with your inventory and your map and all of these different things. It was amazing. It's one of the greatest and strongest gaming experiences I've ever had, aided by the fact you're using the Wii Remote and the gamepad in conjunction with each other. And it was one of the best experiences on the Wii U for that exact reason. And so we already know that a Pikmin 4 on the Switch would be losing that gameplay experience, and that breaks my heart, but I still feel like there's a great future for Pikmin still on the Switch. You know, we're going back to normal TV play, and I think that they would take use of the Joy-Cons and their abilities to big fashion in a Pikmin 4. That's another reason why I get excited about the idea, because I think they would be a great showcase for the Joy-Cons, and I think that they could emulate a lot of the best aspects of the Wii Remote gameplay for a Pikmin game. And so those are the only things we could really possibly infer about a Pikmin game now before Nintendo has even showed it to us. But these are just some of my ideas. I feel like it's probably a good point to kind of wrap this video up. The point is, I feel like Pikmin 4 is coming. I think it's coming to the Switch, and I think that we're going to hear from it very soon, and that gets me very excited. Obviously, I could be wrong, and maybe there's no current plans for Pikmin, and I'm really just kind of, you know, completely off base here. But I feel pretty good about it, you guys. I mean, tell me I'm wrong. Doesn't it make sense for us to hear from Pikmin sometime soon? It just feels like it's the right time. I wish it was the right time for Star Fox also, but I don't necessarily think it is. Maybe we see that the Grand Prix thing turns out to be true, but until we do, it's hard for me to really kind of feel out what's going on with the Star Fox game. But I don't know, man. I just think that Pikmin, I think that it's coming, you guys. So anyway, that's what I think. I just wanted to really blab to you guys about all these Pikmin thoughts and everything coming off of that Nintendo Direct, and with 2020 on its way, I just have all these ideas and wishes, and I just hope that Pikmin is a part of the plan. So what do you guys think? Are you craving a Pikmin game like I am? Do you feel like now is the time and that we might see it soon and see it released next year? Or do you think I'm off base and maybe it's just a couple of years away and Nintendo has no plans currently for Pikmin? Whatever you think, talk about it below. And with that, this video is a wrap. Thanks, of course, as always, for tuning in, guys. This is Rob of Ro2R Review, and I'll catch you next time on another video.